Flames danced like hungry demons on the horizon. The sky, once blue and serene, had been transformed into a tapestry of ash and flaming orange. Drones buzzed, capturing high-resolution images that would be broadcast to the world. The last testament to neighborhoods reduced to ashes and lives ripped from their roots. In the small town of Paradise Hills, the smell of burning wood mixed with the muffled wail of sirens and the crackle of trees succumbing to the heat. Children cried as families struggled to escape the congested roads. An elderly man, a charred blanket draped over his shoulders, watched silently, as if he had already accepted that there was nothing left. In a remote corner of the devastation, a surveillance camera, forgotten but still working, captured something unusual, a thin, bright line of light cutting across the sky. An instant later, a small but devastating explosion set off more flames. It was something only the eyes of machines could witness. The images were automatically uploaded to a secure network, where thousands of miles away, in a room lit only by the blue light of giant monitors, Elon Musk studied the data with a rigid face and fixed eyes. On the screen, the coordinates flashed like a warning. Something was wrong, but he couldn't tell what. From the top of the SpaceX complex, with glass walls that revealed a sky thick with smoke even hundreds of miles from the fires, Elon Musk stood motionless, staring at the monitors. Reports flashed, in sequence. Fire spread, 230% above average. Human impact, 12,000 evacuations underway. Anomalies captured, 3. His lips were pressed together, a barely perceptible gesture of tension. Around him, the control room buzzed with the activity of engineers and analysts. Weather data, satellite images, and live feeds from the devastated areas filled the screens. Even amid the cacophony of voices and notifications, the silence around Musk was almost palpable. He was the gravity that held everyone together, but also the epicenter of a storm. An assistant approached hesitantly, holding a tablet. Social media has exploded in the last few hours, sir. There are trending hashtags accusing SpaceX of, using lasers to start the fires. Musk let out a short, almost mechanical laugh. Space lasers? Seriously? He picked up the tablet, scanning the viral charts. Spoofed videos and apocalyptic texts filled the screen. Conspiracies are like wildfires, he muttered. Easy to start, impossible to put out. As he turned his attention back to the monitors, his thoughts wandered. This wasn't the first time his company's technology had been the subject of rumors, but there was something different about this crisis. The accusations were spreading too quickly, almost as if they were being fueled by someone or something, with a specific purpose. The first insinuations sparked on obscure forums, spreading across social media within hours. Distorted images of SpaceX satellites hovering over burning areas appeared alongside sensationalist captions. The truth is out there. Conspiracy blogs began connecting non-existent dots, accusing Musk of testing orbital weapons. On Twitter, hashtags like Not Your SpaceX Hellfire and Musk Destroyer trended. The videos were a chaotic mix of real footage and amateur montages. One showed a thin line of light streaking across the sky before a flash of light appeared in the forest below. "They're turning the world into a laboratory," a popular influencer shouted in a live video. Thousands of comments echoed her outrage, while bots amplified the reach. Amid the digital firestorm, news outlets began to pick up on the narrative. Correspondents debated whether commercial satellites could actually emit lasers with enough precision to start fires. Some experts dismissed the theories as absurd, but others fueled doubt with vague talk of experimental technology. At SpaceX's offices, the tension was palpable. "This is a coordinated attack," Jonathan, the communications chief, said, as he pointed to social media monitoring charts. Mentions went up 300% in half an hour. This is not organic. Musk watched silently, his chin propped on his hand. "Attack or not, it's already out of control," he said. He knew that doubt, once planted, was as destructive as the fires that were consuming California. The conspiracy theories gained. momentum when a tech influencer published a detailed and highly speculative analysis of how SpaceX satellites might be involved in the fires. In a live broadcast to millions of viewers, he explained with simplified graphics how telecommunications lasers could hypothetically be tuned to emit enough energy to ignite vegetation. They say it's impossible, but think about it. He said, pointing to an exaggerated illustration of a satellite emitting a deadly beam. These satellites are above us all the time. Who's to say they're not being used for secret testing? The post went viral, followed by fake videos showing supposed lasers streaking across the sky at high speed. On Reddit, users created forums dedicated to discussing the truth behind SpaceX's satellites. Comments ranged from technical debates to more outlandish theories, such as the idea that Musk planned to forcibly terraform the Earth to train for missions to Mars. At SpaceX headquarters, Musk watched blankly. He finally pulled out his phone and tweeted, "If we had space lasers, do you really think we'd use them to burn forests? Priorities, people." The response was like pouring gasoline on a fire. While his most loyal followers defended the explanation with sarcasm, conspiracy theorists took the tweet as a veiled confession. The truth, already diluted, was now just another piece in the chaos. The SpaceX press room was buzzing with the echo of conspiracy theories. The screens displayed headlines from major media outlets, mixed with social media posts that oscillated between acidic humor and outrage. Elon Musk, sitting in his usual chair, was typing something on his phone. He seemed oblivious to the chaos around him, but the few who knew him well knew that his silence was always a prelude to action. A few seconds later, the tweet appeared on the global feed. Conspiracy theories about space lasers? Absurdly entertaining. Who wants to help build a Death Star while we're at it? The room fell silent for a moment. Jonathan, the head of communications, swallowed hard. "Sir, that may not be the best approach at this time." Musk just arched an eyebrow, his fingers already sliding across the keyboard for a second tweet. "All joking aside, we are committed to using technology to help, not hurt. Climate monitoring has been on our radar for years." The response divided public opinion. Some laughed at the irony, while others pointed out the apparent insensitivity in the face of a real crisis. New hashtags emerged. Musk cynic and Das Death Star confessed, fueled by bots and fake profiles that amplified anti-tech sentiment. Meanwhile, Musk watched his monitors more closely. Something about the spread of the narrative bothered him. It wasn't just casual misinformation. It seemed like a deliberate, almost orchestrated effort to discredit everything he and his team stood for. The ripple effect of the accusations quickly reached global markets. Within 48 hours, shares in Tesla and SpaceX had fallen sharply. Financial analysts attributed the decline to the instability caused by the theories, while the international press debated whether Musk was up to the pressure. In China, rumors of technological sabotage began to circulate, leading to the temporary suspension of Tesla's contracts with local suppliers. In Europe, environmental movements seized the moment to question the environmental impact of space launches. Protests erupted on the streets of Berlin and London, with demonstrators holding signs that read, "Fire in the sky, blame in space," and "Technology burns lives." At SpaceX headquarters, Musk was watching a foreign news broadcast. The French anchor, in a tone dripping with sarcasm, asked, "Is the man who promised to take humanity to Mars now taking us to hell on Earth?" The gravity of the situation was beginning to sink in. Government contracts were being reviewed, corporate clients were hesitant to sign new deals, and even within their companies, doubts were emerging. In one tense meeting, a Tesla engineer asked aloud, "If they can fabricate evidence against us, what else can they manipulate?" Musk remained calm, but his eyes were fixed on a distant point. "This isn't just about me, it's about what people want to believe, and the truth is, they prefer chaos to logic." Musk sat alone in his office, a large, minimalist, and quiet room with windows overlooking the still smoky sky in the distance. He slowly turned a miniature prototype satellite in his hands, lost in thought. The weight of the accusations and the global impact of his image were beginning to create a fissure that he could not ignore. His computer screen displayed a preliminary report on the fires. Among the data, a graph highlighted the exponential growth of public distrust of big tech. The statistics were clear. The more his companies advanced, the further the public seemed to move away from the belief that these advances were made for the common good. Musk muttered to himself, "The more you try to save the world, the more people find ways to make you the villain." On the table next to him, an article about climate change lay open. It was a stark reminder that the fires were not just the result of human neglect, but also of a collapsing ecological system. He wondered if his innovations, however well-intentioned, were only contributing to a larger problem. In that moment, he realized that this wasn't just a battle against the accusations, but against the very idea that technological progress was synonymous with salvation. Maybe people had reason to doubt it. Maybe he did. The conference room was packed with engineers from SpaceX, Tesla, and Neuralink, each with tense expressions as they adjusted their laptops and flipped through reports. The room, normally buzzing with innovative ideas, was now a dense space of uncomfortable silences and hushed whispers. Elon Musk strode in, his presence filling the room. He carried a tablet, but he didn't consult the data. His eyes were fixed on the faces before him. "We're at the center of something much bigger than just fires or conspiracy theories," Musk began, his voice cutting through the silence. "People don't trust us anymore. They don't trust technology, and that goes beyond what SpaceX or Tesla are facing." A Neuralink engineer stood up hesitantly. "With all due respect, sir, public distrust is reaching a critical point. If our experimental designs, especially the autonomous drones, get leaked, it could destroy any credibility we have left." Another Tesla expert chimed in, "We're dealing with a dangerous narrative. People think we're playing God, and now any failure, no matter how small, will be seen as proof of that." Musk leaned forward, fingers crossed. "So how do we deal with this? Do we pause our progress, wait for the world to catch on, or do we move forward and accept that progress will always come at a price?" The silence in the room was deafening. The cost of innovation, they realized, was being feared as much as admired. In a private room in a SpaceX digital intelligence unit, monitors displayed lines of code racing at breakneck speed, representing the search for patterns in social media. A small group of analysts worked silently, unraveling the origins of the space lasers rumors. In the center of the room, a dashboard showed digital connections drawn between suspicious accounts and obscure forums. "We have something," one of the analysts said, adjusting her glasses and zooming in on a cluster of data. "Most of the posts are coming from a forum called Guardians of the Earth. They are actively promoting the allegations against SpaceX and connecting them to theories about a global conspiracy against the environment." The group's name was nothing new. The Guardians were known for their anti-technology stance, often blaming large corporations for environmental collapse and advocating for the discontinuation of disruptive innovations. But this time, it seemed different. A closer look revealed that the originating accounts were controlled by a coordinated network of fake profiles. They were created almost at the same time, with identical posts spread across different platforms, another analyst explained. "This is not a coincidence. This is a deliberate campaign." Musk, who had entered the room unannounced, crossed his arms and studied the dashboard carefully. "This is war," he muttered. "Not against me, but against the future." Silence fell. For the first time, analysts realized they weren't just facing misinformation. They were facing a carefully engineered movement to destroy everything technology had promised. In the sealed-off corridors of Neuralink's headquarters, where the future of human-machine interaction was being shaped, a new set of problems was emerging. Leaked reports to the press suggested that the company had conducted tests of autonomous drones controlled by experimental brain interfaces. Although the tests had been conducted under strict control, rumors were already swirling. Theories suggested that the fires could be the result of human error amplified by Neuralink's technology. Musk walked silently around the experiment room, watching engineers connect a drone to a neural interface. The equipment hummed softly, its blades glinting in the cold light of the lab. He knew that while the tests were groundbreaking, any failure or misunderstanding could be used as ammunition against his companies. "Sir," an engineer said, removing his goggles. The drone tests were conducted in complete safety. But if the connection to Neuralink is publicly confirmed, we will be seen as monsters playing with fire. Literally. Musk turned slowly, his eyes fixed on the equipment. What's more dangerous? Admitting that we're ahead of our time, or letting the public dismiss us as villains before they even understand what we're trying to do. Before anyone could respond, a notification blared on their devices. Earth Guardians had just released a new video, supposedly exposing evidence that Neuralink drones were responsible for starting the blazes. Musk simply muttered, "They want to burn us before we can fly." As the conspiracy theories continued to gain traction, a conference of climate scientists was being held in Sacramento. Gathered in a packed auditorium, experts in ecology, meteorology, and forestry management presented concrete evidence about the causes of the fires. Graphs, videos, and satellite images demonstrated how climate change was turning California's ecosystems into tinderboxes. Dry lightning, prolonged droughts, and poorly managed forests are the real culprits, said Dr. Ellen Park, a renowned climate scientist, as she pointed to a graph showing rising temperatures over the past few decades. We're dealing with a systemic problem, not futuristic weapons. Despite the evidence, public attention remained divided. For every expert trying to explain away reality, thousands of conspiratorial posts flooded social media, insisting that the science was just a cover-up for secret SpaceX testing. Musk was watching the conference broadcast in his office. In a live interview, Dr. Park was asked about the allegations against him. Elon Musk may be a visionary, but his projects feed fear of the unknown, she said. People will always try to blame what they don't understand. Musk turned off the broadcast with a sigh. He knew the data was on the side of science, but the battle against ignorance and fear was more complex. The question on his mind was simple and devastating. Was he part of the solution or part of the problem? In the heart of the SpaceX complex, Elon Musk called an emergency meeting with his top advisors. The mood in the room was tense, every face a mix of exhaustion and anxiety. On the main screen, charts detailed the impact of the crisis: sharp drops in stocks, government contract delays, and growing protests around Tesla and SpaceX facilities. Jonathan, the head of communications, was the first to speak. "The public pressure is untenable, Elon. We need to consider pausing future satellite launches. Even if this is temporary, it may give us time to control the narrative." Musk remained silent for a few moments, staring at the miniature rocket model on the table. Finally, he answered, "Pausing launches is admitting guilt. It won't stop the theories. It will fuel them." One of the chief engineers intervened, but the progress we're making, especially with satellite-based climate monitoring, could be crucial to preventing future disasters. If we backtrack now, we'll lose years of progress. Musk rubbed his face, clearly torn. He knew that every decision came with a cost. Slowing down projects might save his reputation, but at a price humanity might not be able to afford. "We're trying to solve problems the world doesn't even know it has," he said finally. "But sometimes that makes us the bad guys." In a live broadcast, an environmental analyst posed the question, "Are we putting too much trust in someone who seems to care more about the future of Mars than the present on Earth?" At SpaceX headquarters, Musk watched the news on multiple screens. Although he was used to being the target of criticism, this time the intensity was different. The accusations went beyond conspiracy theories. They were striking at the heart of his vision for the future. "We need to respond publicly," Jonathan insisted, his tone almost pleading. "We can't let the media control the narrative." Musk, sitting with his hands clasped in front of his face, calmly responded, "If we respond to every accusation, we miss the point. We're not here to convince everyone. We're here to solve problems that no one else is willing to face." Meanwhile, social media continued to be ablaze. Every silence from Musk was interpreted as blame. He knew his next move would be decisive and potentially irreversible. The SpaceX conference room was packed with journalists, broadcast cameras, and an eagerly awaiting global audience. Elon Musk stood behind a simple lectern, staring out at the sea of lenses and microphones in front of him. It was a familiar scene, but the weight of this moment seemed overwhelming even to him. He began without formal introduction. We are living in an era of extreme challenges: climate change, misinformation, crises of confidence. I understand why people are afraid. Technology advances rapidly, and we don't always explain how or why. The audience was completely silent. Let me be clear, he continued. The theories about satellites and space lasers are completely unfounded. SpaceX exists to solve real problems, to push the boundaries of what humanity can achieve, not to destroy the world we live in. Musk paused, choosing his words carefully. But that doesn't mean we're perfect. Every innovation comes with risks, and I accept my share of responsibility for ensuring that those risks are kept to a minimum. That's why we're dedicating our resources to new systems that will not only monitor disasters like this, but help prevent them. Despite his calm tone, the tension was palpable. As soon as he finished, he looked directly into the cameras. You can continue to criticize me, but don't stop progress out of fear. The future depends on facing the unknown together. The room erupted with questions, but Musk had already left, leaving the message to resonate on its own. In SpaceX's control center, a new discovery has shaken the internal investigation team. Preliminary reports indicated that a technical glitch in one of the weather monitoring sensors, part of an experimental satellite program, may have contributed to the initial confusion surrounding the fires. While the glitch didn't directly cause the fires, it did generate inconsistent data that has apparently been used to fuel conspiracy theories. If this data got into the wrong hands, it's possible someone manipulated it to amplify the narrative. Against us, an engineer explained, pointing to a screen with highlighted lines of code. But we don't know if it was human error or something more intentional. Musk, who had been watching silently, finally intervened. What if it's not a coincidence? Someone could be trying to sabotage our projects. But why? The team began to reconstruct the chain of events, tracing the origin of the leaked data. The clues led them to an anonymous server, where logs revealed access by a group identified as part of the Guardians of Earth. They had extracted data from the outage and manipulated it to make it appear that SpaceX satellites were directly linked to the flames. Musk took a deep breath, his expression grim. They're not just against SpaceX or Tesla. They're against anything that represents progress. And now, we're on the front lines of that battle. At Tesla headquarters, the atmosphere was different, but the weight of the crisis was the same. Shareholders were in an uproar, and a special meeting was called to discuss the impact of the allegations on the company's image and operations. Musk, although reluctant, attended amid a flurry of looks that oscillated between suspicion and expectation. Let's be clear, Elon, began one of the most influential shareholders. The stock is falling. It's not just because of the conspiracy theories, it's about how this is affecting market confidence. People are starting to associate Tesla with the same problems that plague SpaceX. Musk's expression remained unwavering. Tesla was built on a vision to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. That hasn't changed. People can believe whatever they want, but the truth is that we're on the right side of history. Another investor chimed in, more pointedly. You're underestimating the impact of public opinion. It doesn't matter if the accusations are unfounded. The market reacts to what people believe. If we don't regain control of the narrative, Tesla could go down with it. Musk leaned forward, resting his arms on the table. Tesla is not a conventional company. We're not here to please the market. We're here to change the world, even if it means facing resistance. If anyone wants to leave, now is the time. The silence in the room was piercing. The pressure was undeniable, but Musk knew that giving up on his vision was not an option. The streets of Palo Alto were crowded. Protesters carried hand-painted signs with slogans like "Technology consumes us" and "Tesla and SpaceX, the fire of the future." The sound of megaphones mixed with the shouts and chants of an angry crowd. Environmental groups, backed by a wave of misinformation, organized synchronized protests in front of Tesla and SpaceX headquarters. What initially seemed like a local backlash had become a global event. Journalists and activists broadcast live, fueling the chaos. Some in the crowd wore gas masks, symbolizing the pollution they believed SpaceX's rockets were making worse. Others burned models of electric cars in a theatrical performance that contrasted with the vision Musk has always sought to promote. Inside Tesla, employees watched nervously through windows as security tried to hold back the protesters. One engineer said quietly, "I never thought working to save the planet would be seen as a threat." Musk was on a video conference call when he was informed of the situation. He hung up immediately and went downstairs, stopping in front of the glass doors that separated the building from the crowd. He watched in silence. For a moment, it seemed as if he wanted to go out and confront the people directly, but he knew that words would not be enough to change what had become an ideological war. "They're not protesting against us," he told an aide. "They're protesting against the future they fear." As the protests continued outside, a new discovery at SpaceX's research center raised more questions than answers. After days of analyzing data, the team finally identified a technical glitch in one of the orbital monitoring systems. One of the most advanced satellites had emitted pulses of energy that, while harmless in themselves, could be interpreted as beams of light if captured at the right angle. Jonathan, the communications chief, walked into Musk's office with the report in hand. "We have a problem, Elon. The videos of light streaking across the sky may have come from one of our satellites." Musk picked up the document, studying the attached charts and images. "It doesn't make sense," he said. "These pulses are designed for low-intensity communications, not for causing harm." "I agree," Jonathan replied. "But that doesn't matter to the public. If anyone already suspected space lasers, this will only confirm their theories." The silence in the room was oppressive. Musk finally laid the report on the table. "If we admit we were wrong, we lose credibility. If we deny it, we'll be accused of hiding the truth. It's a dead end." Jonathan hesitated before answering. "What if we were transparent? Explain exactly what happened." Musk shook his head. "Transparency doesn't work when people choose to believe in chaos. This isn't about science anymore. It's about fear and control." The issue now was not just clearing SpaceX's name, but preventing progress from being crushed by a distorted truth. At Neuralink's central lab, the barely perceptible hum of autonomous drones filled the air as engineers monitored the machines' fluid movements. Using artificial intelligence to control such devices was an impressive achievement, but it was also the focus of new suspicions. Groups accused Musk of testing experimental drones in hazardous areas without proper supervision, fanning the flames, both literal and metaphorical, of controversy. "The algorithms are tuned to prioritize detection and safety," one of the engineers explained. "These machines don't even have the ability to start fires." Musk paced the lab, watching a drone that seemed almost organic in its movements. He knew that artificial intelligence was essential to the future of his companies, but he also understood the fear it generated. "AI is not the problem," he said, pausing to look at his team. "It's how much people trust us to use it correctly." On the other side of the world, however, the narrative was very different. Theories that Neuralink drones were involved in the fires were being amplified by bots, and faked videos of fire-breathing machines were garnering millions of views. The public was beginning to associate the technology not with innovation, but with disaster. "We need to slow down these tests," Jonathan suggested in an emergency call. Musk shook his head. "If we stop now, we're admitting guilt. We need to show that AI is part of the solution, not the problem." But in a world where fear was outpacing facts, a solution seemed increasingly elusive. Social media algorithms were in overdrive. Every new post related to the fires, Elon Musk or his companies was amplified by thousands of shares, comments, and reactions. Manipulated videos showed SpaceX drones and satellites firing beams of light over dry forests. Hashtags like Ross, Musk Monster, and Future Fire continued to grow in popularity, spreading a narrative that was already nearly impossible to contain. Inside SpaceX's crisis room, screens displayed exponential graphs of negative mentions and digital traffic analytics. Jonathan pointed to a dashboard that highlighted the patterns of dissemination. "This is clearly coordinated. Bots and fake accounts are spreading the same content in synchronized waves." "And what's the source?" Musk asked, without taking his eyes off the screens. "Anti-technology groups and, more alarmingly, Some competitors in the clean technology market seem to be using this moment to destabilize us. Musk crossed his arms, thoughtful. He knew that social media was a powerful tool, but also a dangerous weapon in the hands of those who wanted to manipulate public opinion. "This is more than misinformation," he said. "It's a war of narratives." Meanwhile, the accusations reached absurd levels. Anonymous profiles claimed that Musk planned to use artificial intelligence to control the population, while others said that the fires were just a rehearsal for terraforming the Earth. "They're selling fear," Musk concluded, "and people are buying it." The challenge now was not only to debunk lies, but to regain the trust of an increasingly skeptical world. In a makeshift laboratory in Northern California, a team of scientists worked tirelessly to unravel the real causes of the devastating fires. Charred soil samples, weather sensors, and drones capturing aerial images were all part of the investigation. The pressure was on, both to dispel conspiracy theories and to provide concrete answers. "The patterns are consistent with dry lightning and extreme temperatures," said Dr. Ellen Park, pointing to a map projected on the wall. "The vegetation was at a critical point of combustion due to the prolonged drought. There is no evidence of artificial activity, but the analyses also highlighted a deeper problem: negligent forest management. Piles of dead wood and unpruned trees had turned vast areas into powder kegs." "This isn't about Musk or SpaceX," Ellen continued. "It's about decades of neglect and climate change that are creating the perfect conditions for these disasters." Meanwhile, Musk watched the results from a distance in his control room. While the data vindicated his companies, he knew that scientific truth rarely had the same emotional impact as fear. "Even with all the evidence, they won't believe it," Musk told Jonathan. "The problem isn't just proving we're right, it's getting people to listen." The scientists were preparing to release their results to the public, but Musk knew the battle for hearts and minds was just beginning. Pressured by the crisis and public resistance, Musk made a decision that surprised even his closest aides. He called a meeting of environmental leaders, including some who were among his most vocal critics. The meeting was held in a neutral space, a California forest preserve that had been partially devastated by wildfires. The makeshift room was simple, with wooden tables and windows that offered direct views of charred trees. The environmentalists came prepared for a confrontation, but Musk began with a surprisingly conciliatory tone. "We're not here to defend ourselves," he said, looking around the room. "We're here because what's happening is bigger than any of us. If we keep fighting, we'll lose sight of what matters, how we prevent this from happening again." Some of the leaders were skeptical. One activist interjected, "With all due respect, Mr. Musk, your technologies are part of the problem. Space launches, factories, they all contribute to the crisis we face." Musk nodded. "I agree that technology has an impact, but I also believe that it can be used to reverse this damage. That's why I'm proposing that we work together to develop an integrated climate monitoring and prevention system, something that combines advanced technology with your on-the-ground expertise." The silence that followed was heavy. Finally, one of the environmentalists responded, "If you're serious about this, we're willing to try, but know that we're not here to save your reputation." Musk smiled slightly. "Me neither." Days after the meeting with the environmentalists, a new lead emerged in SpaceX's internal investigation. In the quiet early hours of the morning, a cybersecurity analyst identified a cache of leaked documents on a hidden forum. The files, apparently related to satellite systems, contained detailed information that had been manipulated to make it appear that SpaceX devices had caused the fires. Jonathan rushed into Musk's office with a report in hand. "Elon, we found something. This data wasn't just fabricated, it was planted, and not by amateurs." Musk picked up the report and quickly scanned the pages. "This is coordinated sabotage. Someone wants to destroy us, and they're willing to manipulate everything to do it." More information revealed that the Guardians of the Earth group, the main disseminator of the theories, had received funding from a previously unknown entity, a rival company in the clean technology sector. The connection was subtle, but real. This company appeared to be using the crisis to discredit Musk and capture the attention of the global market. So it's not just an ideological issue, Musk said. It's a marketing ploy disguised as activism. Jonathan frowned. But if we reveal this now, it might seem like we're being too defensive. Public opinion is already against us. Musk was silent for a moment, before finally responding. It doesn't matter. The truth is more important than the narrative. Expose everything. They'll burn with me if necessary. The revelation about the sabotage changed the tone of the crisis. In an unexpected move, Musk called political leaders and regulators to a confidential meeting. The meeting took place in a government building in Washington, D.C., surrounded by security and away from the media cameras. The austere and functional room was occupied by people accustomed to dealing with crises, but even they seemed uneasy about the gravity of the situation. Musk began the conversation with a direct tone. This is not just about SpaceX or Tesla. It is about trust in progress. If we continue to allow misinformation and sabotage to manipulate the public narrative, we are sacrificing the future. A senator looking skeptical responded, "You expect us to regulate social media and investigate your competitors based solely on their data?" Musk remained calm. "I don't expect favors. I expect action. We have clear evidence of sabotage, but that is just the tip of the iceberg. What we need is a system that protects not just companies like mine, but the integrity of information itself." The debate intensified, with some politicians expressing concern about the growing power of big tech, while others acknowledged the need for new regulations. One proposal emerged: the creation of a task force to investigate the attacks and monitor the spread of misinformation. As he left the building, Musk looked up at the night sky. He knew he had gained important allies, but he also knew that this battle was far from over. The next morning, headlines reflected the growing polarization. Musk, saving the future, or sabotaging the present, headlined the front page of one of the largest newspapers in the United States. News programs tirelessly debated the revelations about sabotage and Musk's role in the crisis. Some saw him as a victim of a corrupt system, while others reinforced his image as an irresponsible billionaire who manipulated narratives to protect himself. In the digital world, the debate was even more intense. Memes portrayed him as a supervillain, standing over a burning Earth, while others extolled him as the only one who could save humanity. The hashtag #JoyMuskHero or villain began to circulate, globally, symbolizing the dilemma that now divided the public. Inside SpaceX, Musk watched the developments in silence. In the control room, screens displayed not only social media graphs, but also new satellite imagery confirming that the fires were finally under control. But the destruction was leaving a deep mark. Jonathan entered the room with a report in hand. "The public investigations have been approved. The task force will get to work. But Elon, this could expose us even more." Musk, with a wry smile, replied, "It doesn't matter how they see me. What matters is what we do next." As he looked at projections of future launches and climate prevention systems, he knew he was treading on territory where error and genius were dangerously confused. In the silence of his office at SpaceX, Elon Musk stared at the vast expanse of space projected onto one wall. The hologram, representing the Earth as seen from his satellites, rotated slowly. The California fires had subsided, but their impact, both physical and psychological, remained a visible scar on the planet and in Musk's mind. He leaned back, in his chair, holding a small metal part, a satellite component. It was symbolic, a reminder that what seemed insignificant could have monumental consequences. Musk reflected on his life and his choices, wondering if his unbridled ambition was dooming the very future he was fighting to protect. "You wonder if you're doing good," he muttered to himself. "If your vision is helping or just fueling a cycle of destruction." His thoughts were interrupted by a notification. An internal Tesla report indicated that renewable energy initiatives in the devastated areas were beginning to restore local communities. It was a glimmer of hope, but not enough to dispel doubts. He knew the world saw him as an extreme figure, a hero to some, a villain to others. But deep down, he was just a man trying to make sense of the chaos he had created, or tried to prevent. Peering into the hologram, Musk whispered, How far can I go before I lose myself completely? He knew there were no easy answers, only the constant weight of a future yet to be shaped. The days following the creation of the task force were intense. Investigators and experts began to unravel the intricate scheme that connected the Guardians of Earth group to a larger web of shadowy interests. Preliminary reports revealed deliberate manipulation of data, creation of fake videos, and disinformation. Campaigns orchestrated to discredit Musk and his companies. The turning point came with an unexpected discovery: a server in a remote location containing internal communications from a group calling itself the Guardians. Intercepted messages confirmed that the movement was not simply motivated by ideology, but also funded by a renewable energy competitor seeking to undermine Tesla's dominance in the global market. In an unexpected press conference, Musk appeared before the audience with evidence in hand. What happened here was not an accident, nor was it a grassroots conspiracy, he began, projecting the messages onto a screen behind him. It was a concerted attack on progress, on the technology that has the power to save us from ourselves. The once divided audience began to reconsider. The revelations had shaken the dominant narrative and exposed the vested interest that had fueled the chaos. Yet Musk knew that recovery would be slow. Trust, once lost, did not come easily. As he left the stage, the timid applause did not budge him. For him, the truth was not a complete victory. It was just another step in a battle that would never end. With the truth out in the open, the chaos of the previous weeks gave way to an uneasy silence. The revelations of sabotage and misinformation had brought some relief to Musk's companies, but the global impact of the crisis was profound. There were doubts that even the truth could not dispel. The public remained divided, and the scars in the fabric of trust remained visible. Back at SpaceX headquarters, Musk called his top team together to present a new project. On the screen, a revolutionary satellite model rotated in 3D, designed to monitor natural disasters in real time, predict their spread, and provide immediate support to affected areas. The project, called Phoenix, symbolized rebirth, and perhaps redemption. If we're going to rebuild trust, we can't just respond to crises. We have to prevent them before they happen, Musk said, looking around at the faces around him. Phoenix isn't just a technology. It's a statement that science can correct its own mistakes. The project, while promising, raised concerns. This will require enormous resources and time that we don't have, one of the engineers said. Musk simply nodded. Progress is never easy, but if we don't do it, no one else will. As preparations for Phoenix began, Musk knew that this was more than a technological project. It was a bet on a future that many had given up hope of achieving. And despite his doubts, he was determined to press on, even without any guarantee of success. In the areas devastated by the tragedy, the first reconstruction efforts began to take shape. Tesla's autonomous robots, originally designed for building colonies on Mars, were adapted to help rebuild Earth's infrastructure. The machines worked tirelessly, clearing rubble, replanting trees, and building temporary shelters for the displaced. Communities, once skeptical, began to see the tangible results of the technology. One farmer, who had lost everything in the fires, watched in amazement as the robots planted seedlings on his charred land. I never thought I would rely on machines to bring life back, he told a local reporter. Meanwhile, the Phoenix initiative was taking shape at a SpaceX launch pad. Musk was there, overseeing the integration of the first satellites into the rocket that would carry them into space. The device's functions went beyond monitoring wildfires to providing early warning of climate disasters and a communications network for emergencies. This is just the beginning, Musk told a group of reporters. If we are to survive the crises that lie ahead, we need to think as an interconnected species. Technology is not the enemy. Apathy is. As the satellites were positioned for launch, the world was beginning to see the rebuilding process not just as a physical recovery, but as a test of resilience, of Musk, his companies, and humanity as a whole. Musk stood alone on a hilltop, gazing out at the sunset. The sky, tinged with orange and red, still carried traces of smoke, even weeks after the fires had been brought under control. The landscape around him was a mosaic of destruction and rebirth. charred trees next to newly planted saplings, communities still rebuilding their lives. In his hands, he held a tablet showing real-time images from the Phoenix satellites in orbit. They had already detected and prevented small fires in several parts of the world, alerting local authorities and saving lives. The technology was working. But Musk knew it wasn't enough. He wondered if, in the end, progress would always come at such a high cost. The innovation he relentlessly pursued saved lives, but it also created fear, division, and sometimes destruction. He thought about the debates, the protests, and the growing distrust he had faced. The question nagging at the back of his mind was simple but devastating. Was he a visionary or just another arsonist in the grand scheme of history? A cold gust of wind swept across the hill, bringing with it the distant scent of ash. He closed, his eyes taking a deep breath. He knew that the fire, both literal and figurative, would never completely burn out. But as long as there was something to save or something to build, it would continue. If the fire never goes out, he murmured, looking out over the horizon, then perhaps we are the flames.